Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to round 1, stage 3 of this year's Zwift Racing League. With the team time trial and the first points race out of the way, we go to the Macquarie Islands, which is my personal favorite world in Zwift. We also will be doing the first scratch race of the season, and there's only one goal. You gotta be fast. Now this year's Zwift Racing League has been quite One second. Hello? Zwift, what's going on? Oh, you guys finally updated the WTRL website? The power-ups are on it? That's awesome. We've been waiting, I don't know, a few days before the first race. That's great news. Can't wait. I'm going to tell them right now. Guys, Zwift just called. And it's Saturday of the first race, TTT race, and we haven't had power-ups. But now, the website has finally been updated, and I can tell you what power-ups are actually going to be used in this scratch race. For country to coastal on the Macquarie Islands, each banner is going to give a 33% chance of either the aero boost, the feather boost, or a draft boost. Now, if you're not sure about what these boosts actually do for you, I'll break it down real quick. The first power-up, the feather, reduces your weight by 10% for 30 seconds. Now this is something you want to use on climbs and not on downhills or flat roads. Moving on to the draft boost, the van, it'll increase your draft effect that you are experiencing behind riders for 40 seconds. Now you want to use this at high speeds, flats or descents, and when you're actually drafting off another rider. The aero boost, the helmet, will make you more aerodynamic and reduces your CDA by 25% for 15 seconds. Now this is a power-up you want to use in sprint finishes, most likely at the end of the race. Now, like I said prior in the intro, we are on to our first scratch race. What does a scratch race mean? Well, if you've been on Zwift for a while, typically most of your races are scratch races. You only gain points by the higher you finish. None of the sprint segments, none of the KOM points are actually going to award points like the points race. Everything is based on your final position in the race. This route is 33.6 kilometers long with a total of 280 meters of climbing. Now, note that most of this race is pavement, so I would recommend an aero bike, or if you have the Tron, use that. So now let's get into the route and see what we have to deal with. As soon as we take off from the pens, you're going to note that it is going to be quite tough and quite fast. We have a total of 50 meters of climbing within the 1.5 kilometer start of this race. Now if you remember the points race last year that we did the Macquarie 40, this was tough. I'm expecting the start to be quite fast. Now don't be afraid to burn some matches here. There's nothing worse than getting dropped in the first 1.5 kilometers, and you're gonna have 14 kilometers of descents and flats to catch your breath and get your legs back into shape. With only 22 meters of climbing over the next 14 kilometers, the second we hit the bridge at 15.9 kilometers into the race, be aware of an attack coming. Now it's only 4% for about 0.3 of a kilometer, but people are going to be itching to launch an attack and try to thin out this front peloton. Now you need to make sure to fight the urge in you that's just yelling, attack, go, 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 and just stick to someone's wheel, stay with them on the bridge part, and stick with that front peloton. Very shortly, we're going to be coming up against our first test of this route. Now I say this because as we head north of Festival Harbor, you got to note we have 180 meters of climbing left and over half the race is already done. So you know there's going to be quite a long hill that's upcoming. And this is going to happen at the 18.6 kilometer mark. we will be facing 50 meters of climbing over the next 1.4 kilometers. The big thing to note about this uncategorized climb is that it is dirt. This is going to slow the peloton down and make this hill seem tougher than it actually is. And now, for the love of the Zwift gods, don't think about a bike change. There's no need for it. If anyone in my race decides to switch bikes, I mean, I'm okay with it because I'll finish ahead of you. But just don't even think about it. So this climb eventually ends at the 20.1 kilometer mark. Now coming in at the 23.9 kilometer mark, we run into a small uncategorized climb again, and this time I think this could be a spot for a breakaway. If you have the juice in the legs with one climb remaining left in this race, you're only 9 kilometers out from the finish. Try something if you feel like you have an advantage over the other riders, and if not, just be aware there could be a break here. So now as we pass on through the coast, we are going to be going back up the hill we just descended shortly ago to get to the coast. Now, please note that there are 13 rollers. 2 of them peak at 7%, and anyone that is a punchy rider left in this front group, you are going to have an easy time going up and down and up and down with very little negative grades, but a lot of even ones, and then, like I said, up to 4 to 7% rollers. Now these rollers will start at the 26.6 kilometer mark and will not stop until the 30 kilometer mark. So I'm really expecting a fast pace at this point of the race. So try to stick with that front peloton, and if you can't, well, get into the second group because you want to save your legs and get ready for a sprint finish. So at this point, the 3.5 kilometer mark, we have the upcoming finish, which is one of my least favorite finishes in Zwift. There's a few 5% rollers right before the finish, and it finishes on an 11% peak. It's not my favorite. Like I said, it's a tough ending, and you're gonna need to keep the power down, because if you let up just a little bit right at the end, you will lose spots to the people behind you that do have the power on the pedals. I have definitely lost my positions in this ending sprint, and hopefully if you're racing against me, you do the same. So that's it for this route, the country to coastal on the Macquarie Islands, our first scratch race of the season. I do hope you enjoyed, and as always, please like and subscribe, and I'll always put the entire race video right after this send-off. So make sure you come back, watch another one. We've got a TTT next week, and I am very excited to face Box Hill. Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. 18.6 kilometers into this race, we'll be fighting against 50 meters of climbing over 1.4 kilometers. This is an uncategorized